Welcome, everybody, to our podcast, Generational Gains, that my dad and I do together every year, every week. And
every year and every week.
Yep, always. We've been told by our producers that we do a poor job of explaining who we are and giving a little bit more introduction to those who are watching this for the first time. So we're going to be better about that today and talk about us for a second, although I feel like we don't love to do that. Well, you like to talk about me a lot.
I do like to talk about you.
Which is nice.
So why don't you introduce me and I introduce you?
All right, so as if we're on stage, right? So I got to think about this. So this man has influenced my life greatly.
No, be real good with your weird voice right now. Like, do the normal voice.
All right, well, so this is my dad, Greg Herline. He owns a company called Horizon Trust. He's spent 2, 3 decades in the business world being an entrepreneur. In real estate investing, in business ownership, and now he spends his time kind of motivational speaking, talking about how to be more in control over your money, and he spends a lot of time with his family now. And at this point, this podcast for him is an opportunity to continue to share his brand, but also have an opportunity to work with his son, me, and where he can share his thoughts and things he's learned with me as I'm building my businesses and starting my business career. So it's a pretty cool opportunity.
Thank you for the introduction.
Yeah.
Let me introduce you to my son.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, Carson has always been successful in his life, even at a young age. Carson is very good at building relationships with individuals. He's very determined and successful at such a young age too. In fact, I have a lot of friends that will come up to me and be like, "Man, how do you motivate and how do you create such great kids?" And the truth is, it takes a village. But I would say Carson as well is not only. I don't think he's only had great people around him, but he's also chosen to make good decisions, from the wife that he chooses or has chosen, as well as the friends he's chosen and the people he listens to. Because we all have good influences around us.
Yeah.
And Carson has chosen to not only hear and listen to them, but take action. So Carson's an action taker, successful young entrepreneur as well. And so that's who Carson is to me, and besides a great son. So,
well, lesson number 1 that for today's podcast, it just came out of the blue, but for me, I got to do a better job introducing you and talking about other people to other people. I liked how you said you started with traits of mine and who I am and less what I've done. So that's actually a great lesson for me to take, so I can start doing that with more people. But anyway, that's who we are, what we're doing here. And today we wanted to talk about how you should be operating, running a business, how you should operating and be running your personal finances, your personal life, and just some thoughts on what people should be trying to accomplish and doing from the perspective of someone who's in their 40s and working with people who are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and someone who's younger and in the 20 to 30-year-old group of people.
Or teenagers.
And talking about the differences between where they're at in life and when they have questions about how to be building their businesses, how to be better about their family life, balancing everything they're doing. We have a lot of thoughts on it. So we wanted to share that today.
But specifically, I think, and maybe Carson, you could go start first here. I think this again resonates with me because a lot of people will come to me and say, "What should I do first? Where should I begin? Or what should I teach my kids?"
Yeah.
And so I guess we lead with that a bit. Is if you're listening and you're a parent, or if you're listening and you're a teenager in your 20s or maybe 30s, the question that comes up is, Carson, you're 21 years old, almost 22. Give me and share with us some of the things that you think every older teenager or someone in the 20s should be doing as far as maybe in their life, but in particular when it comes to money. What are some things that you can share with people at that range or that age, because you're living it right now?
I think the number one thing for people who are in 16 to 35, really is that age group, who are looking to just start building wealth in terms of money. They need to be almost having delayed gratification and focusing on how they can better their future selves. I think that's what I was thinking about that the past couple days, is they need to be preparing for their future self and not trying to get as much satisfaction now, make as much money now, but building the foundation, building the habits, so that when they are 10 years down the line, and they are a little bit later, they have everything built the way they want it to be built, and they're way more successful and happy because they spent time now to work hard, build a foundation, and delay that gratification to them.
So he's just shared build a foundation. I love that answer, but now when I dive deeper, what are some specific things that people should be doing at a young age to build a foundation that you've done to build a foundation? What are some specifics?
Yeah, I mean, I think this goes to everyone of any age, but starting with goals, and then from your macro goals, 5-10 year goals, bringing it down to year goals, breaking that down to quarterly goals, breaking that down to what can I do in the next month, next day, to accomplish and hit these bigger goals. So if you're starting with that all in mind, now you're at a good place to go and build. And then in terms of money, knowing where the money is, knowing what your budget is, knowing what you can save, what you can invest, knowing where your money is going, so that you have the most control over your finances. So once you have those goals, once you know where the money is, now you can act and decide, where should I be putting those funds in the right places? How can I build that to make the numbers more? How can I be investing in more things? So foundation is understanding your whys, your goals, and then understanding where the money's at.
Good. I like it. So those are the three things he just said. Understanding the why, creating goals, and
I guess knowing where the money's at.
Knowing where your money is at.
Yeah.
Where you're utilizing your money, where you're spending your money, and where you're saving your money.
Yep.
Those are great three things, great fundamental things I think that everyone should know, but in particular to get started, to build a foundation when you're late teens or in your 20s.
Yeah.
That's great.
But also, it is about having a foundation, but I think when you're that young, a part of the foundation is risk. Taking more risks, starting the business you want to start with no money, going and finding the investors to help you do things, like taking risk and having more of a freestyle approach to building a business. And you don't have to be perfect with your goals, perfect with the money and knowing where it's all at. That's good, but also there's risk you have to take, and you don't always have to know where all those things are.
I love that. I feel like risk is a good one because I remember when I started, you're not risking much when you're 21.
Yeah.
So you're willing to jump and fall. You're willing to jump as far possible. If you knew you could jump across this pool, or it was close, you're like a foot short, but you don't have too much to risk, right?
Yeah.
You only have so much in your bank account.
Yeah.
And so it's I'm going to risk on myself on this new business.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a really good one when you're young, is willing to take a lot more risk, because that changes, right, as you get older. So risk, I think, is being willing to put yourself in uncomfortable positions, to find success is a great one.
And so those three that we just mentioned, I think you add the fourth, risk. And as you get older, all four of those are going to change, and they're going to develop into what's happening for you now. But if you are 18 years old going into college, you can go and do whatever you want. You can have all the risk in the world, like you said. Whereas if you are 40 and you're not working 9 to 5 and you're looking to get out of the rat race, you can't just go start a business with all your life savings with a family.
Well, and you got kids at home, and you got a wife. Yeah,
so it's just a different model, but that's a big piece of it for sure.
Yeah.
So that's my thought on what you should be doing and working on as a 18 to 30 year old. But what would you say for an 18 to 30 year old with that? What would you include or take away from that?
That's good. I think Bill, I think the last one you mentioned was really important because I don't think I would have said that before, but it's what I did. Like I lived that, what you just said.
Yeah.
Goals were the number one thing for me. So I backed into like how much I wanted to make, and so what I needed to do to make that. So goals were really important to me. Risk. I think that the two things I would add to that is, it might sound generic, but it's so true, especially today, is hard work and waking up early. I think we got a friend guest here, Bear, who's definitely welcome to join us anytime. But I think hard work is kind of one of those things that has been lost. I feel like when you're talking to a lot of new entrepreneurs, they think that they can go buy a class, go to an event, and then magically their business is going to start on social media just multiplying. And so I think hard work, and I also think waking up early. I feel like that has been something I've done since I was 19 years old. And I think it is one of the best things because I feel like I get so much more done before most of my competition even
so you
gets
would say
started.
that's just as important as the other foundational pieces, waking up early.
Yeah, I think so because for me, I feel like I would get a whole half a day in more than my competition.
Yeah.
And if that means, when I say half a day, like if I'm getting up at 6 and I'm able to get my study in and meditation and prayer and get myself in a good place to then go attack the world by 7 a.m., most of the world's not even getting a cup of coffee till maybe 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And so I think those few extra hours have continually done a good thing for me. So that's probably what I'd add as well.
So I'm in this stage right now that we're talking about, and I've noticed for myself, like, there's a push and pull of being 21, but wanting to build a business and be mature and start things, but also be 21 and have fun.
Enjoy life,
live in the moment. So there's also that push and pull of like, yeah, I want to take risks, build a business, make money, but also I shouldn't stress about it either. Like I have all my life to work on it. I can also go on vacation and go see the world. I can go and have fun on the weekends. I don't have to be all this or all that. And most people in their 20s are all one thing.
All fun or all work.
Or all work. They're not really a good mix. And so it's hard. Everyone's trying to figure that out because there's also stresses of life. You wonder if you're doing the right thing you're supposed to do. All your friends are in a certain space that you're not in yet. Or it's just difficult when the social life comes in too. So there's that push and pull of how to navigate being a business owner or just having a good job and wanting to build a career right versus the other thing. So would you say, how did I do in the last 20 years? I don't know. I don't know. You didn't know you when you were in your 20s. But you probably only knew me more as far as lifestyle goes and decision making in the last 10 years more because you were more aware. That's what I was going to
say. This is a big one. I think we could do a whole discussion on this with others as well, but I do feel like I on purpose was not like my parents in certain ways, or even your mom's parents in certain ways. I was really scared that if I were to work like everyone else for 10, 20, 30 years and save up my money so then I could go and be retired, that potentially I would die and not enjoy this life.
Yeah.
And I don't know why to this day I've thought that, but I've thought that from an early age. And so some people would probably look at me and be like, you're crazy. You spend just as much money on fun stuff as you do in savings or investments. You should be saving more. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that.
Yeah.
My model has been from a young age. I mean, you guys were traveling with us from a very young age to live life the best that you can because you just never know.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean just vacations. That just means be the best person and just be the best person that you can possibly be. But that for me included trips with friends, trips with family, and you just never know. Because we hear about it all the time. You hear people that will die right after they retire or right before retirement, and they've waited this whole time to go on these fun vacations, And then they didn't, or experience this special time with their kids when they should, instead of working so much.
Yeah.
And so I am a big proponent of that. So I'm glad you brought that up. I was just curious what you thought, but you might have even just be too nice to me at this point. But I do feel like I've balanced a very good work hard, play hard life, and I think that's super important for everybody.
Yeah, and a little off topic of that, but it made me think about more the money side of that. So I talk to people every day about infinite banking, right? And most people I talk to, they're, just say 40 or 50. They say, hey, I have 20 grand in retirement. I have 10 grand in my bank. I save $300 a month. And I say, okay, well, you're 45. You've worked since you were, let's just say 20. So you have 25 years of working. You have 20 grand in the bank. So you've saved less than $1,000 a year for most of your life. What you're doing doesn't work. Like that's like the cold hard truth. What you're doing does not work. What America does not work for most people, because nowadays it's too expensive. And so it also comes down to the foundation of, okay, well, you need to be saving money and you need to be putting it away every single month. So when you're 40, you don't have $1,000 a year to your name, so that you start building that right and you start compounding on it. So it is about having fun, living the moment, being yourself, but also doing the right habits to set yourself up so you can do more and more of the fun stuff and more of the business stuff.
Well, what I'd say on that as far as is it was goal setting for me. When I was in my 20s, I was still setting goals based upon lifestyle.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like I wanted to go on at least, I don't know what it was then, but it was more than 2, but call it 4 vacations a year that cost X. I wanted to save Y.
Yeah.
And I needed to pay this much in bills. And so for me, it was part of my equation. So it was like I needed to make $60,000 to do 3 or 4 trips a year, save $5,000 or $6,000 a year, and pay my bills.
Yeah.
And so I just feel like it's an equation that everyone should look at. Living, put down realistic stuff. Like you can't be like, hey, I want to go on vacation every week. I mean, maybe you can, but just bigger goals.
Yeah.
But put down what you think is realistic. And so if you can only save $300, but if you could push it to $500 or $600 or $700, what do you have to do a little bit more? And that's the whole point, is every year, if you just tweak it up a little bit more, one more vacation a year. I mean, we do a lot of trips now, but one more vacation a year, one more, an extra $10,000 in savings. What do you personally need to do? So I love that he said goal setting. Goal setting, I think, is one of the most important things. If you're talking about it, if it's on your mirror, on your wherever it's at, on your laptop or your phone, you should be looking at it all the time and working towards it.
And I think when you're in your 20s, like, that goal should be pretty dang big. I don't know who said it, but I've heard, like, your monthly goals, you're always going to overestimate what you can accomplish in a month. But your 10-year goal, you're always going to underestimate what you can do in 10 years.
Yeah.
So let's put up massive goals. Let's go and try and accomplish the biggest thing we can think of, and keep thinking about it, keep putting it on your mirror, like you said, so that you're ready to go hit those big goals.
That's good. I like it. Good.
Yeah, and so I guess those are our thoughts on people in their 20s. Now I'll flip the conversation to those who are in their 40s and 50s. With those people, how are they going to be preparing for retirement? How should they be financing or managing the finance in their life, their balance in their life? You're in that sphere. I know a lot of people you hang out with aren't the normal person, but all of your clients are. So how do you help these people build the right goals and plans to succeed to retirement or whatever their goal is?
All right, so to start this, before I answer, I think it'd be better to turn it back on you.
Okay.
Sorry. So I would say the best thing to do, or not the best thing, but what I'd like to ask you is, what do you think a 45-year-old should be doing with their money at 45? I'll tell you, because I am 45, but I think it'd be more fun to hear what you think at 45.
I feel bad for a lot of people in their 40s and 50s who came to me with that same situation I mentioned. They have 20 grand in the bank, they save $500 a month, they have a family of 4, they live in Illinois or something. Like, I feel bad for them because they just weren't taught the right way to manage their money. And it's hard to change what you're doing when you're that deep into tradition, that deep into where your money's at. So, like, I want to say almost start over and build something, but you can't do that for most people. So I would say biggest thing for people in their 40s and 50s is understanding where the money's at. Goals put aside, risk put aside. Where's your money? What happens to your $8,000 a month of income? How do you only have $1,000 at the end of the month? How? It doesn't make sense. Figure out where the money is going. Try and save as much as you can. And if you're at the spot where you don't have anything, don't go on those vacations. Just save as much as you can, almost the Dave Ramsey way. Like, figure where the money's going, understand it, and then from there now build plans and goals and risk and go from there that way. I think you almost have to do it in reverse.
That's good. I don't know that I think that's actually probably good advice. I think so. My answer is, off the cuff, but just kind of thinking about it now. I think you're a bit right at first, understanding where your money's at. I also know that I try to meet people where they're at. And the older I get, I can almost meet almost everybody where they're at.
Yeah.
And when I'm 70, I'll be able to meet almost everybody where they're at.
Yeah.
But that being said, when I meet or run into people in their 40s or 50s, let's say, I think they don't understand their options and they don't understand where their money's at. And I think there's a big lack of education. So
exactly right.
So I feel like first and foremost, don't have an ego that's too big.
Yep.
That you're not willing to learn and get vulnerable.
Yeah.
And so I'd say that's number one. Number two is taking action. I think if you take action and learn about what your options are and make decisions and test things out on a little smaller scale.
Yeah.
So I think it's easier. We're talking about risk with younger people. It's
harder.
They can take more risk because there's not as much to lose. But I feel like when you're older, it's okay. I know when I go, I've got, Kent, a good friend of mine, he's a great motivator, but he's the one that says, go all in. Just go all in no matter what age. And there's some truth to that, actually. I'm probably a little more conservative than that I say, hey, look, you've got a family, you've got potentially, a spouse. And so it's important that you understand where your money's at, set some new goals, understand what your options are, and start saving more. And so whatever you're doing, do at least 10% more. So if you are saving, $500 a month, save maybe $550 or $600 a month. Yeah. Believe it or not, those little tweaks over a 5 or 10 or 20-year period is hundreds of thousands of dollars, sometimes even $1 million. So if you're able to save $1,000 a month now, which is only about $10,000 or $12,000 a year. And so in your 40s, you need to be saving $10,000 to $12,000 a year, period. If you're not doing at least that, then you need to figure out a different career or you need to go ask for a raise. Yeah. And that's the other thing I'll actually say. If you have a job and you work for somebody, fight for yourself. If you know that you're valuable, and I'm telling you, you need to pay yourself and save an extra 10, 20% a year in what you make, go ask for a raise. Go ask for a bonus. Don't be afraid and bashful to go do so. Yeah. You'll be surprised how quickly, if you're doing a good job, how quickly the person you report to appreciates you and give you those increases. And you might get a no. Worst case scenario is you get a no. But every year or so, you should be asking for an increase or what you can do where you're at to get an increase. And I think if you're always, so asking when you're in your 40s, 50s, let's say you have a job and you're working for somebody, asking for an increase or pay and pay is one thing. The better approach is write down what your personal goals are. But then after you know those goals, go to your employer or your manager and be like, hey, look, this next year, I really want to make $10,000 more. Or whatever the number is, $100,000 more if you're in sales. What can I do to make an extra $10,000 or $100,000? Ask them. I love it when my salespeople come to me and they're like, hey, look, I want to make an extra $10,000 this year. What can I do? And usually we figure out a plan in which they can figure out how to do that. And so don't be afraid to ask. And at this age, you should be saving more money and investing more money. We've already talked about in previous podcasts what you should be investing in. We're not going to dive into that. But I think educate yourself, ask for more money, work for it, start saving more. I think those are the things you could be doing without taking too much more risk.
Yeah, I like it. It's a very different approach compared to people in their 20s.
Well, I got to tell you that you asked me yesterday, this was Carson's idea to talk about this today, and I think it's a good one. What I just shared with you is not what I was thinking about sharing. And I'm glad, actually, that I just kind of went with what I felt, because there's just so many people that are in that boat, what I just said. There's so people many in their 20s, too, that have good jobs. I'm not here to say you should quit your job. You might love what you do, but you're not able to save as much and catch up as much. And so just understanding your value, your worth, and then asking what you can do to get paid more or to make more. And just ask. And look, the worst thing that can happen is this whole next year, you put together this plan and you don't hit it, but you become a better employee. Everyone should not be an entrepreneur. This world would be a big loss if that was the case. Everyone shouldn't be an employee either. There's the right job and opportunity for everybody to fit what makes them happy. So, anyway, so thanks for asking this. This was, I think, it was a good subject and good subject for you and I to talk about today.
I like it. Yeah, I have no more thoughts.
That's cool. Well, thanks for, hopefully this is helpful. Hopefully from a perspective of if you're just starting out, or if you have a teenager or someone, a child that's, or kid that's in their 20s or whatever the case is, just getting started. Hopefully this is helpful. These little fundamental things. Sometimes it's better hearing it from somebody else than myself, or even, than maybe you that's listening. And then if you're in your 40s or 50s, you're not old, first of all. I feel like I am stronger than ever and a better person than ever, which I think is the most important. The better person I am, the more success I can have. Mm-hmm. And so I'm more in love today. I feel like I'm a better father today. I'm definitely stronger than my son. And I'm joking. So, no, I'm not joking. But that being said, I think this is great. Thanks for bringing up the subject. And so, how about you just wrap up with just a sweet today? You got just a sweet for us?
Yeah, just a sweet. When I came back from my trip a couple weeks ago, I had a new motivation to educate myself more and not be just like, okay, I know my stuff now and what I'm teaching. I don't need to spend more time reading books, watching YouTube videos. Like, I have a new motivation to learn. So the past week, I've been listening to a lot more podcasts, listening to a lot more books, and watching things to better myself in my own market, my skill, but like also my personal life. So that's been really cool the past week, is just getting back into spending time learning, because it's important. I feel like sometimes I don't want to spend time listening to an hour-long podcast when I could just work for an hour and make more, do more. But to spend that time, maybe wake up early to do that, making it a priority, making time to do those things is bettering me. And I feel like I'm a better person today than I was last week. So
I love it.
Sweet.
That's a great sweet. My sweet would have been my our call yesterday with Miley, Carson's sister, on a church mission. She couldn't have been glowing anymore. And I think as a father, all you really want is to see your kids very happy and healthy, and to see her in a place where she was so happy and just full of love really made my day. So that's my sweet for the day.
Next time you guys got to include me in your call.
All right. It's always good. Well, thanks for being with us today, and look forward to our next one with you.